Hey there guys, it's the PC Guy here, continuing our series about how to plan and design your very own PC desk. As you know, check my videos if you haven't seen it yet. I've built my own PC desk. It's something that I'm quite passionate about and plan to do again in the future. And I thought I would do a tutorial about how to do it for you guys and how to plan it, how to build it, and all that sort of thing. I have done a few videos about how to plan it in the past, but they were not very in-depth and not very detailed in their information. So this is a longer series. It will take a bit longer. The videos are going to be a bit longer, but they will be covering it in more detail. Now, I saw on the last iteration of this video, I showed you guys the basic commands of SketchUp. We made this little makeshift desk together. It's just a very quick. Obviously, no one would design a desk like this. It was just to show you how to do a basic shape in SketchUp. Now, today we are going to be discussing more things, specifically the shape and size of the desk, measurements, how to plan each panel's size and how to design them so that they're actually accurate to size, as well as some basic component planning for the future. And that will be it for this video, because otherwise it would be way too long. Now, before I actually start building an actual well-designed desk, I will be using this kind of bad example that I did last time as a show model, just to discuss a few things. First one is the dimensions of the desk. You have to be keeping in mind, how do you want your desk to be? Do you want it to be with a flat front side like this, and like my desk partially has? Do you want to have your keyboard on top here? Do you want it to have like an angled down surface, like let's say, want this to be the top, and then you cut it like this and down, so like at an angle to give it some better design, and then this face will also be angled like that. How do you want it to do? Do you want it to do it like my own desk, which I have half of it like this, a flat face, and then a kind of an in cut here with a platform at the bottom here for the keyboard and mouse? You have to keep that in mind. If you're going to be keeping your keyboard and mouse on top of the glass here, then you are kind of, you can go with whatever dimensions you want. If you want a panel like I do, you have to keep that in mind. In this case, I will be taking into consideration for the design that the keyboard will be put either on top of the glass, or with, like, let's say, a sliding panel attached underneath for you to have your keyboard and mouse. It's also an option. I will not be doing the example of the keyboard here at the front like I do, or like some other people also do, although that's also a completely valid iteration. Now, as for dimensions, if you do go with the keyboard here, keep in mind that you want to have at least somewhere between 75 and 80 centimeters. And sorry for using centimeters, but I'm European. You want to have 75, 80 centimeters here for the keyboard in width, and the width of the desk. So that's already a minimum size for your desk as far as width goes. And then you have to ask yourself, where am I going to place the fans? Am I going to place the fans at the front panel, like here, for example, on each side, on one side? Are they going to go on the side here instead, or at the bottom? That is something you really have to think about, because if you want your fans at the front for aesthetic value, which I think is the best option if you ask me, because that gives you some LED lights at the front and all that sort of thing. You also can do airflow front to back, which is ideal as well. Then you want fans at the front, and I would advise at least 4 14-centimeter fans, or 2 20 centimeters, as a bare minimum. So let's say you have the 80 centimeters here for a keyboard, and let's add another. Yeah, if you have 2 40 centimeters, that's 28 plus the grill, and you want some leeway anyway. So let us put 35 centimeters on each side, just of pure fan area. So assuming those 2 fans on each side, let's say 35 centimeters on each side, plus the 80 for your keyboard and such, that would bring you to about 1.5 meters long of a desk, which, while not being enormous, it's kind of on the ideal size, to be honest, to make it look impressive and have plenty of room for your components without being too much. Especially if you're going to water cool, you want a desk at least this big too. You probably want to show off reservoirs and tubing and all that sort of thing, so it's not crazy. But if you do not want the platform for the keyboard here, let's aim for like 1 meter 30 size of desk. That's about the size of my current desk. I think it's plenty, uh, and it should be fine and more than enough to actually house all your components and make it look nice. So let's say 130 width. I'll actually write it down for our desk. Now, as for the height, that's absolutely your decision. The height from the total desk has no impact on the desk's performance or handiness. Obviously, it has to fit you as you have to sit there comfortably. Obviously, so the keyboard has to be at your wrist level and such. You have to keep that in mind. So, make your own measurements, sit on a chair, see where your knees lie, see where your wrists are going to be, and that's what you have to work with. In my case, it's about, I don't remember clearly, but it's about the 65 centimeters off the floor that my desk is sitting. So that's my situation. You're still there with your own, personal build. But as far as building the desk goes, the general height can be easily adjusted. You just make it taller or smaller, up to you. But what you have to keep in mind is the height of the, let's call it the enclosure where your components will be. Now, I have my own desk as about a 20 centimeter total. That is roughly 3 centimeters of space underneath for cable management under a false bottom, and another, well, roughly 17 on top. That is more than enough, actually. You could easily have it with less, but that really depends on if you want the compartment to be bigger or smaller. Bigger obviously gives you more freedom, gives you more air in the enclosure, so airflow is less of an issue. Even if the airflow is deficient for whatever reason, the fact that there's more air available in a bigger enclosure means that it will take longer to warm up, and the fans don't have to constantly be at full speed, as long as the air does get removed eventually. As far as for the depth of the desk, that will also depend on your components and obviously if you are going to have that cut in for the keyboard or not. In general, I am using my own desk has kind of an L shaped because my keyboard is sitting here and it is cut like this. So this area here has about a 50 centimeter depth, with this area here having 80 centimeter of depth. I think the ideal value lies somewhere in the middle of that. If your keyboard is on top of the glass, and if it is angled like that, like I mentioned, you probably can get away with having like a 70 centimeter depth here on top, and then something like a 50 here on bottom. And I am kind of assuming that you are going to have a false bottom as well, so it will raise the bottom a little bit, but we'll go into all that when we design the thing. So let's say 130 centimeter width for a desk and a 70 centimeter top depth and a 50 centimeter bottom depth. So that is what I will be working with to make this desk for you guys. Keep in mind that if you have some non-traditional idea of putting your components in a specific position, arrangement, etc., 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 you can probably get away with more or less. You have to adjust it to your own situation, and you have to have already an idea of what you want before you even start drawing. So this is with my particular build idea in mind. For your own, obviously you keep your own idea. For example, if you are not going to be using a hyzer cable to mount your GPU separately, you can probably make it a lot smaller. If you're going to, for example, mount your PSU, hard drives, SSDs, let's say on the underside of the desk or under the false button, for example, that saves you a lot of space in the enclosure, and you can get away with a lot really narrower desk. So instead of 130, you can probably get away with like a meter or less even. You can even make it like 80 centimeters if you really are conservative with how you place your components. Like I said, hard drive, SSDs can all go under the desk under a false bottom because they don't require much cooling, and they can just hide in there and still be connected, and they won't be taking space on the surface. But then again, you won't be able to show them off, and your build might look a little bit less impressive with just a motherboard there and the GPU and a few fans. But that's personal aesthetics, and it is completely your call. Now, I will start the actual building. I deleted the old desk, and I'll show you guys how to do a proper one now. I will actually be using the line tool because it makes it easier. You can do a line, for example. Well, this is not. Go away. You can actually do a line, and I was talking about around 70. The program is being a boob. Okay, you can do a line, you can keep it parallel to the axis, the line changes color when it's parallel, and I wanted to do a 70 center. So you see, I can click it and then just type 70 there. And it makes the job a lot easier to keep the lines the size you want. It's a lot more difficult if you actually use, for example, the rectangle tool, because it doesn't allow you to change the lines as easily if they are connected on two sides. So this does make it easier. So I wanted it like that, and I'll like say that you want 70 centimeter high. There we go. There we go, and there we go. Our side panel is completed, and now I wanted it to have a little cutout there, right? So I said a 50 centimeter at the bottom. So that means a 50 centimeter at the bottom, sorry. That does leave the question of how much of a height we want here, but let's say 20 centimeters. Seems about reasonable. So I just made some points here. Where is the point? There it is. There. Now, looks like quite an artistic piece. Let's delete those surfaces, and let us delete these useless lines. And there you go. You have the basic shape of our side panel. I will pull it out 1.8 centimeters because that's the width that you usually get on wood panels if you are to buy them around here somewhere. So there you go. This is your side panel for your desk. It doesn't look like much yet, but it is the start of it. Now for a back panel. Obviously the back panel does not need to reach all the way to the ground like on the example we did before. You can just have an actual back panel wherever you want, how long you want. I will make it the same 20 centimeters that I made from here to here. I will make that the length of the back panel. So go to the outer side of your back thingy here, and you can draw a line there. Now there's a little marker there, obviously. You kind of have to play with the angle for it to let you even draw in the direction you want. As you can see, it's parallel to the green axis, so that's perfect. And we are going to draw again a 1.8 centimeter. And then down, and it will be 20 centimeters down. As you can see below axis, that's the Z line. So it's parallel, and there we go. We have the beginning of our back panel. We wanted it to be roughly 130 centimeters. Now you have to keep in mind, do you want it to be 130 centimeters from here to the end, or 130 centimeters inner size? So there's that to keep in mind, because you have to discount 1.8 centimeters here and then another 1.8 on the other side. So there is always that to keep in mind. So it's a matter of personal preference. Do you want it to be 4 centimeters bigger in total, or 4 centimeters smaller on the side? Not sure if you guys saw that pop up, but apparently I need to restart soon. Anyway, that is a bit of a personal choice. Do those 5 centimeters matter? I'm not sure. It depends on your build and your component placement. Anyway, I'll make it 130 from the outer side just to make things easier. And let's make it 130 then. You can look at the bottom right corner to see the distance that it is actually. That makes it a lot easier to plan things. So yeah, there it is. Your back panel is now in full action. Now, you might be asking me, why are you bothering with the thickness of the wood? Well, that is because when you actually want to start building and want to start taking measurements, you can just grab the ruler thing and come from here to here and measure, okay, so how much do I have to cut it? Oh, I have to cut it 70, or like here, for example. Oh, how big does this have to be? This angle kind of thing. And you can just come here and you go away. That's not what I wanted to do. You can come here and measure from here to here. 28.8. Okay, that's how long I have to cut it. And that goes for any other measurement here. For example, you want to measure how high this thing has to be. Let's assume that you have the bottom part here and that you want it to not sit under, but sit in front. Then you have to measure from here to here. Or, well, that's actually, I'm kind of making this very confusing. Ignore what I just said. Let's say that you want it to sit from under. So, you want this part to sit on top of the bottom panel. Just an example. Then you have to measure from this side here until here. Then it's 51.8. That way, you already are taking into account the length of the width, how wide the wood is, its width, and you have to take those measurements into account. You could, when the project is all drawn, come measure it, forget that the width is there, and then you are 1.10 centimeters short. And then you just ruin the perfectly fine wood piece, and you have to go and buy another for I don't know how much it costs. So being exact here and making it as close to reality as possible, including these details, does save you planning time later on and measuring time later on, and makes it a lot easier to actually then go out and buy the things and cut them to size. So that is something to keep in mind. Now, something that I will now do is make another panel on this side for the other side panel. There are two ways to do this. You can just draw it like I drew here, or you can copy it and paste it on the other side. If you do copy and paste it, I should actually have already made it into a group like I showed you last time how to do. But I forgot, so I'll have to do it like this, the dirty easy way, just select it all. It will probably select other things that it shouldn't, like you saw here, but you can just shift click and deselect them, and then accidentally deselect the whole thing. And this should be exact, other than this little surface here, which does not belong. And yeah, this should be exact. No, not you. Go away. Now this should be exact. You can make group. As you can see, group made. Control C, Control V. Let us stick it on the other side here. Control V, I said. And we can just select it, find an angle that actually lets us view it properly. And this is the difficult part of Control Copy, Control Paste, is to actually make it stick to a good surface. I am actually now looking to see if there's a better way to do it, but as you can see, it's not completely flush with the side there, which is very tilting and also not very exact for, like I said, making exact measurements matters. You know what, I will actually stop the video and draw one by hand real quick to make sure it is exact. Or not even stop the video. You guys also should see the problems and the mistakes, because that is all part of the experience, even though it makes the video a bit longer. So select, I said select, delete, go away. Why is it not deleting? What if I go away? Yes, like I said, let us draw one by hand. Fortunately, it is a lot easier this time around because the backplate can be used to start it off. So I wanted a 70 centimeter. Then here I wanted a 50 centimeter. Yep, now you go here. And how much was the height total? I forgot. I believe it was 70, I believe. Yeah, sometimes this happens and it is quite annoying. As you can see, it is being difficult with the measurements because of the intersection. It is very frustrating. 0.5 centimeter difference. You know, this is an example tutorial. I don't want to be here drawing a line for half an hour. And this was a 50 centimeter here. That connects here, and this line can go. Now, okay, and we will be, like before, making it 1.8 centimeters wide. There. Now, let us draw our bottom panel. Now, the bottom panel has, if we are going with this shape, like I said, some people have actually had a lot of success making a metal plate on this part, because it makes it a lot easier to just make a continuous metal plate. So it's structurally more sound and easier to, well, if you have a place that you can bend a metal plate like that, and by metal I don't mean the steel plate or anything, but like aluminum or brass or whatever, because this part does not actually support a whole lot of weight. The weight of the glass is going to be resting mostly here on the sides and on the back. You can like reinforce it with a beam of wood underneath or something if you really want to, but this front part and bottom will not be having a lot of weight there. And if you can do that, I would go for it myself. Makes it a lot easier to deal with this shape. Otherwise, you have to cut wood with like a little joint, angle joint there, but you know, that's going into more detail than I wanted to go. And I will now draw the bottom part here. Now, something that I think is very handy is a false bottom. A false bottom lets you hide your cables and yeah, keep the build a lot neater than it would be otherwise. And I recommend a height of at least 3 centimeters for that false bottom. That's not even counting a possible, the width of the wood and such. Now, I will be making a bottom here, like I said, 3 centimeters, but I will not be making that bottom out of hardwood, for example. And there is something that I have been meaning to try on the build, which I probably will, which is in place of making the actual bottom out of hardwood and the false bottom on top. Let's say that can be removed by pulling it upwards. I want on this build to make the real bottom on top with little holes for the cables, and then a false bottom underneath that you can pull down or open on the bottom side to access the cables and that sort of thing. That is something that I want to try, and I will try to reflect that in this design for you guys to see. In hindsight, the 20 centimeters might be a little bit too little for what I am planning to do. In any case, I will put, let's see, if that false bottom has, let's say, a 0.8, I have to zoom in to be able to do such a small distance. 0.8 here, and I have to zoom a bit further. This should be it. As you can see, it draws nice and parallel to there. And now I can simply pull out that part here, 50 centimeters. Now, obviously, you would need to do a joint here that would go like this to make the front. Now, again, if you possibly can have a metal plate shaped like this, I would do the metal plate so, and then fasten it here to an actual wood panel, so that the whole thing doesn't need to be metal, but it's a lot easier if you can do at least this angle bit in metal, and it's also a lot easier to shape, and you know, if you make a mistake with bending it, it's somewhat easier to fix than a mistake with wood, because metal is very bendy as if it's in small sheets like that. Anyway, this would be the false bottom, and my idea for it, and bear with me here, would be to, for example, here now I would cut a panel here. This is just rough, as you can very much see. I think I drew a line up there accidentally. This is not meant. Like my idea obviously is drawing like a little cutout like this there, and another one here on this side, and this would be like a thin piece of plywood or something, and these panels are removable. I just pull them down, do whatever cable management I have to do, and put them back up, and the cables sit there. As for the actual bottom that you will see when you look up from the desk, the idea is to, let's say from here, where's my pen? There. From here to, let's give it, I said 3 centimeters-ish. Here. And then let us zoom out a little bit, pan the camera. Let's give it another I'm actually curious, how high is it now? 16.2. That is becoming a bit of a concern. I should definitely have made it a bit taller, to be quite honest. That is something that I'll fix it between videos, but for now I will leave it as it is right here. So I will another 1.8 centimeters here, and I will make it 1.8 because my objective with this part of the panel is that it will be also hardwood, much like the exterior here. However, you could probably safely do it out of plywood or MDF, which will save you on thickness. Actually, I think I will do just that. And I will keep the design as it is. So 0.8 is the measurement, the magical measurement for this sort of thing. At least around here. If I go to a hardware store, that is about the thickness that I will have available to me on the. It will be in increments of around 0.8. So that's what I'm going to use. The zoom is being difficult, as it usually is. It's something very frustrating with this program. And it's making this video longer for you guys, which I apologize, but you should know by now that the video that does things like I am trying to do will be long. Now, here, when it actually comes here and meets here, you will want to have it cut, or well, have it cut, no more, cut it yourself, so that it is exactly on point there. I believe it is. So what I will do is I will draw from here until here, as well as on this side, from here until here. Yes. Now I will turn it down. I will make a line from here, going all the way to the other side. Until here. Now, if all goes well, I will be able to delete this. And no, go back, that was the wrong one. This line. It is difficult to select sometimes, as you can see. Yep, going back all the way here. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Come on. Thank you. There to there. Now, yeah, there we go. Sorry for all the zooming adventures, and as you can see now we have an actual surface. This is where the cables will be, and like I said, this part would be basically fixed in place. This part would have removable little folds, and you could have the cables here and access them from below, just with little holes for the cables to actually go to the components up there. Now you could potentially develop this idea a little bit more, make this area go down a bit more, make it more spacious, and like I said, you could have your SSDs and hard drives in the space here. You could potentially even have your PSU down here, or hanging down here in an enclosure or something outside the case to save space and save clutter in the actual case. That is a very good possibility, and it's all up to your personal design. That's the beauty of a case like this, is that you can design it to your needs and wants, and however way you want it to be. And by doing that, you save space here that you can apply to cooling loops, to making the actual desk smaller. It is all up to you, like I said. Now, for the front panel itself, we will again grab our little line tool. Now, drawing this side panel has been proving elusive. I have had to redo it a few times. Hopefully this is the time it will work out. So I will attempt to draw here a 1.8 centimeter edge. There we go. Just double checking that it is actually on the edge. Yes, it is. Because I have had it, I did it on a very, very strange angle, to be quite honest. And I will try to draw a second 180 edge. Is it also on the edge? Yes, it is. Thank you. And now we will be connecting both, but hold on a second. I wanted to start here and go all the way there. And then I wanted it to continue all the way down here. And naturally, no, go back, not there. And naturally there. Now I can actually cut these lines away and make a uniform, let's call it. Now, obviously, as you can see, these parts are too long. I could probably have just drawn this edge first and then the rest. In any case, let's see if it does let me push it to the side. No, it doesn't, because those are in the way. Naturally, of course, those are in the way. I will have to correct this a little bit. It might take a while, so I'll do it off camera. If you are following this tutorial and you are going to do your thing after, make sure you do the front panel first to account for miscalculations like this in the future. I'm going to fake this in a very crude way. I will do a line from here all the way to the other side. It should show up as red because it's perpendicular. That's the advantage of working with the axis. I have done the same on the top. And now I will draw from here to the top one, doing the same on the other side. That will allow us to just cut off that section completely. Keep in mind, this is not what I wanted this tutorial to go, but as you will know, when building a desk like this, sometimes you have to adapt and improvise, and sometimes you just have to wing it, really. And this is one of those times, clearly. I need to pan it. Go away. Is it also deleted on this side already? Not quite. I have to get rid of these lines here so they don't interfere in the future. Okay, so it should be fine, I hope. And yeah. The same applies for the bottom panel here. Actually, this is getting really discouraging. But yeah, this is not really the attitude I want you guys to be watching. So I am going to make this work, even if it is the ugly way. And even if it is taking longer than I actually originally anticipated, and you guys will probably hate me for pumping out another hour-long video or something. But this has got to happen. That was not what I wanted to do. No, again, not what I wanted. And okay, now I will close this off here. And I will do the same on the other side, and hopefully now it will let me actually pan the thing. As you might have noticed, I am not an absolute professional in this program. I am an amateur, just like I am in all the other stuff I am trying to do, which explains all these hiccups and problems that I keep having. And I am doing my best to give you guys a good experience, but sometimes it's not easy. And I have no idea why it is not letting me just pull it to the other side. In any case, the other solution is to just Again, wing it and draw a line from here all the way to there, and then do the same. These commands are amazing. These controls are amazing, I know. Oh, come on. Thank you. From here, perpendicular to here. Just double checking that the measurements are still fine. 1.8 centimeters. Thank you. At least that is still going fine. I apologize once again for the turn that this video has been taking, especially on this front panel, but we all know that building a desk like this is not the easiest thing in the world. And this just proves it. Even the planning can be difficult. Okay, there we have it, our front panel, like nothing ever happened. So yeah, this is the general shape of your desk. I apologize for the difficulties and for the oh crap, let's wing it kind of thing, but here we have it. Our desk is finally taking shape. Now, if you don't want this part sticking out like it is here, you can actually make it start here on the inside. Although it will rob you of some distance here, it is a matter of personal aesthetics and preferences. It actually would probably look a bit better if it did. Again, it's up to you. An advantage of this is that if you have a floor that has like a little edge at the bottom, then this will probably sit better against the wall if you want to push it completely against the wall. So there is that advantage. And let's face it, who's going to be looking at the side of the desk anyway? Plus, if you sand it and paint it nicely enough, no one will ever notice the seam at any rate. Now, after all this mess, this concludes our tutorial for today. There will be more parts, trust me. This is just how to plan and build a basic shape. Next time I'll be detailing a bit more about component placement, fan placement, all those sort of things. Right now, final thoughts for this part. Like I said, a few things that could have gone better. And that when you are building your own, I will just roll with it because this is supposed to be an ongoing project and I'm not going to do a lot of changes off screen that you guys can see, and I also don't want to start it over. But like I said, this part can be here at the front, so this seam is less visible, although it will cut a bit into the space that you have in the desk. This part, instead of being here behind joining like this, it can actually start here to here and then just joining like this, so it won't be sticking out. But like I said, it can be an advantage for the desk to actually press a little better against the wall. Another thing that can be done better is that this front panel can actually come here at the front like this. On the other hand, if you are doing a metal panel, then it can't, because it has to go on the inside to actually continue like this underneath. So that's another consideration, and it depends on what you are doing. This video has been dragging on for too long, but in any case, material-wise, like I said, the legs on the side, I definitely would stick to solid wood. Some people swear by plywood, MDF, that sort of thing. They swear that it's strong enough, but the glass itself is heavy. The components are somewhat heavy. So it gives me peace of mind to know that at least the basic frame of the desk is a bit sturdier than just sawdust and glue pressed together, basically. So I would use hardwood for the legs here on the side, and I would use hardwood for the back there. For the bottom here, it's debatable. You can probably get away with using normal plywood, MDF, that sort of material, as long as you reinforce it at the bottom with some sort of hardwood beam along the back, for example. It's an option, like a 2x4 along the edge here, for example, to keep it from sagging over time with the weight, and to keep the legs from, spreading out to the side under the weight or something. Could possibly do one at the front as well. That's up to you. Just to reinforce it. The front panel here, I would do it hardwood as well, or metal, like I said, because it is a very vulnerable and exposed place. Might hit it with a knee accidentally. You might be moving stuff and you throw a chair against there, and then the armrest slams against it and caves in. And yeah, that's not really something that you want on a desk you're going to spend a lot of time building, and you want it to be somewhat sturdy and resistant. There's also going to be the fans here, and going to be cleaning fan filters and that sort of thing. So that's going to be a lot of handling as well that you're going to be doing, and you want it to be able to cope with that. You don't want it to just fall apart at the first thing. So I would go with hardwood for this panel here, or metal, like I said, metal being the first and foremost choice as far as I'm concerned. Now, I hope this has been useful for you guys. I know it was a long video, but I think it is justifiable to make these videos a bit longer so that they can be a bit more in detail, and so that the people that are actually serious about building a desk like this have a good in-depth explanation of my rationale for doing this or doing that, how it's done, how to do it, and why. And I think it is valuable for the people that are planning a desk build to have a good explanation like that, with all the full details and all the explanations, visualizing what to do and how to do it, as opposed to just a trimmed down, skimmed out version that doesn't really show you everything. I know it's probably not going to give me a lot of views. I know that it's not going to be clickbaity and people are like, oh, 40 something minutes video, 1 hour video, I'm not going to watch it. But that's not the point. This is to provide valuable content to the people that are actually serious about doing it, and not just to get me views and view time and subscribers. It's supposed to be about the content and not about how attractive it is for people. I hope that the people that do watch it find it valuable. I hope it's useful for you guys. And like I said, next video I'm going to be exploring a bit more on this desk. Like I said, this is just a guideline, just an how-to. Obviously, for your own personal desk, you can put your own personal design in there. You don't have to make the front angled like I did. You don't have to make it as large as I did. You can make it smaller. You can make... There is an infinite amount of design choices you can make if you want. So roll with that, see where it takes you. Now, this is Ethic PC Guy. I'll see you next video, and have fun planning your PC desk. Oh yeah, and don't forget to save the project, because I was about to close it without saving, so keep that in mind when you do yours. Now for real, see you next time.